Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Yo, boom, boom, boom!
What a mark.
Hello, welcome to the Accidental Wrestling Fan. I had some difficulty getting the show started. I kept clicking record, and I forgot on Zoom when you record the show, you have to hit the actual button to record either in the cloud or record on the computer, and I did not do that. So my mistake, boys. We're running with a little bit of a, I would say, skeleton crew, but these are the guys that we did a lot of the shows with, especially back in the Wyandotte studio days. So we'll start from the top. Kaz, how's it going?
It's going. Same old shit.
You said it so like cranky, like an old man.
Well, I'm getting old, brother.
Yeah, I know that feeling. But let's see, you're gonna be 33 this year?
34.
34. Okay. Yeah.
Your birthday is what, next week?
Monday. I'll be 32.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, man.
And it's kind of crazy to think because I have been talking and yelling into microphones doing this podcast for the better part of like 7 years now, which is weird.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so weird. I remember it's like a running joke how I was the youngest guy on Pod Bros. And now I'm like older than John was when we first started doing this show.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, geez, man. What did I guess I started it in, I was 28 or 29, I think, when I started Pod Bros. Yeah,
and I started doing the shows with you in 2014, so you weren't even 30 yet. Fuck.
Yeah, man.
Time flies.
Really
yes, it does.
Really does. Like my sister, our youngest sister, is about to be 21 this year. She was born in
That's
2000.
crazy, man.
Like,
that is so crazy to me.
Thinking of people who were infants when I was a teenager and now them becoming adults is just such a weird concept to me.
Yeah, right.
Like I have friends who are the same age as me and they have teenage kids.
I know. That's the crazy thing. I know when everyone was saying the meme, like, hey, let me look at your license. Oh, it's a 19. Don't worry about it. Put it back. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And then, oh my God.
Yeah, that's pain. That's true pain right there.
I hurt myself today.
Yeah, man, that is some tough stuff to realize. Like thinking about the territory days. I know we were in our group chat. Sean joked about how he's going to take a page out of Jim Cornette's book and say that everything in the territory days was better. And I realized like the territories were dead before we were born. Me and Sean were about the same age. I think I'm like 8 months older than him or something like that. And it's weird to think, like Ted DiBiase was the $1 Million Man before I was even born. Like Mid-South Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, right.
He hadn't even been a thing for almost 3 years, before I was born. It's weird to think of, thinking of all these classic old school wrestling matches, like watching old school TNA because I have the TNA channel on our smart TV downstairs. So I've been watching a ton of Impact in TNA and thinking about those like old Bobby Roode matches, like Austin Aries doing the option C for Destination X. All that shit was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. That's crazy. The crazy stuff, man. I know. I think about that often too. Like when we would interview some of the local indie guys here and I'm talking to them and realize that they were born after the Attitude Era. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I want to know what their mindset is watching kind of old wrestling. If they're just like, they have the patience for it or what. I mean, there's always going to be matches throughout the decades that live up to the hype no matter what, I think. But there's some that I'm sure they're watching, they're just like, oh man, when's this match going to be over? This went 25 minutes and these guys, all they did was rest holds.
I mean, that's a good way to put it. Like the state of the business right now is like, are we just like too old for it? Kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like the generation that likes, I guess, this more fast paced type of wrestling, spot here, spot there, spot here, spot there, which is cool. But like for me at heart, I like a good, 25, 30 minute, like John just said, give me a rest hold.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Give me that type of shit. I don't know.
Tell a story a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Bret Hart match or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like a fan nowadays that might be 10 years younger than us would maybe look at like, I don't know, Bret versus Owen at WrestleMania 10 and be like, this is boring as fuck.
I shed a single tear when I hear that.
Could you imagine like a 17-year-old kid that likes wrestling? Could you imagine showing them even something from when I was 17, showing them like Austin Aries versus Bryan Danielson from Testing the Limit, where they wrestled for 90 minutes?
Yeah, right.
Imagine showing them Punk versus Hero, where they wrestle for like an hour and a half as well. Like, dude, what is even the point of this?
Oh, I think Joey Janela just posted a tweet just like yesterday or so about how he wants to create a 4-hour Iron Man match with like Austin Aries, and he named a couple other guys, and I just thought it was so funny because that's what made me think of it. Like, could anyone handle that nowadays? I don't know.
Well, I watched something, saw something on Instagram. There's a random wrestling account that I follow on there. I think it's like Heavyweight Enigma or something like that. That account posts a lot of Japanese clips and videos and things like that, but still gives their opinion on Western wrestling. And the account, I know, obviously I don't know if it's a he or she, but the person that runs it was saying that I wish a lot of the Japanese wrestling companies and even some of the like Western companies, like the indie companies, stop pushing these longer means better type matches. Like, it's okay for a match to be 15 to 20 minutes and still be good. And to that, I do say is a fair point, because sometimes I feel like some of these matches in New Japan fall into this mindset of this has to be over 30 minutes in order for it to be considered like a classic. You know what I mean? Instead of just letting the wrestlers do the things that they're good at. And if it happens to go 30 minutes, and so be it.
That's a good point. There's been some matches where it's like at the 15-minute mark, you're like, man, this should be over now. But then they go another 15 minutes, and then that takes away from the match. Yeah, like, man, right? If this match would have just ended 10 minutes ago, this match would have been perfect. But they decided to go another 10, 15 minutes, and now it's like taking away from it. That goes with like the false finish problem and, everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Kaz. The moment I feel as a fan, if you're saying that in the match, that's kind of a bad thing to happen, right? It's not good for a fan to be like, man, I kind of wish this match was over already.
Yeah, exactly.
That I don't know.
That should not be a thought.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the thing that even on the indie scene, obviously you're lucky if you get 15 minutes on the indie scene, but and I'm talking really local. I'm not talking about what's readily available. These guys, you're trained to try to tell a story in 7 minutes. And so, that's you're doing something wrong if you're given all that time and you can't keep that story going for, after the 15-minute mark. That's kind of the curse. And that could be what makes or breaks some of these wrestlers, with the reason why some of these guys, the names are so readily available to people, even casual wrestling fans.
Yeah, I was actually just reading something. Sorry, I know it seemed like I was kind of zoning out there, but I was actually, reading something from Reddit, if I can go back and find it, about what Kaz called the false finish problem. Say that 5 times fast. And this thread is actually from 5 years ago. So it seems like this is something that's been kind of on people's minds for quite a number of years. And, you know, they ask, are there matches that you think benefit from people kicking out of finishers? I think yes, absolutely. People kicking out of finishers. You know, someone named the Austin Rock WrestleMania matches. It added to it because that was something that hadn't really been done at that point. Usually it was like one finisher, you were done. You know, the first Undertaker Kane match, Kane kicked out of, I think, 2 tombstones. It took 3 to beat him. That put Kane over as a monster that it needed 3 tombstones to keep him down, that sort of thing. It works well within the context of the match, but something that Kaz and I have mentioned on the show and in conversations with each other, watching wrestling, it is really, especially in WWE, it's really annoying when, you know, a match isn't going to end on the first finisher because we're like 10 minutes in. Yeah. And no one's going to just go down to the very first finisher. You know, it's going to take at least 1 or 2 more to put them away. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, I wish that we got back to a point where, you know, if I hit you with the finisher, it's just over. That's it. Yeah. Instead of kicking out of the finishers, you know, everyone should just be trying to find ways to counter it or block it, and then you get hit with it. I also feel like people should win their matches more with their signature moves, or when guys bust out these crazy moves in these big matches that are cooler than their finisher, like someone should win with that. Like Seth Rollins, whenever he busts out the Phoenix Splash, he should just win with that. Like, he's going to do this crazy ass Phoenix Splash and just win by stomping a guy.
Well, that's kind of another problem, like with matches, like on a whole card, you have all these matches, and each match, you know, the opponents are going out there trying to one up the next match. It takes away from, like, well, I already seen everything that could be done 3 matches ago. You know what I mean? It kind of could take away from like a main event. I think wrestlers should, you know, start to kind of take back from matches and make them more simple, you know, as far as letting like the main event be that match that does all that false finish stuff and this and that, and not like the second match that does all that. It's the main event for a reason. That's why something like Austin Rock at 17 worked.
Yeah. Also, all the matches on those cards were all different from each other too.
Yeah.
The big problems that we have is that all of the matches have all kind of become the same because somewhere.
That's the point I was trying to make. It seems like they're all just the same match.
Yeah. NXT really has that problem.
Yeah.
It's a really bad problem at NXT where it seems like because everyone is really good and everyone is going to get a bunch of, you know, time because they want all the matches to all be awesome. Sometimes it takes away from it. Like Johnny Gargano kicking out of, like, I don't know, I'm just going to throw moves out there. Obviously this hasn't happened, but like he'll take like the Kushida, like small package driver on like the apron. Then he'll take it off the apron to the floor and he'll get rolled out and do like that, like dead body kick out thing he always does in the big matches where it looks like he just got knocked out. And then he'll come back and win with a fucking slingshot DDT. Like
people were praising the Kushida Gargano match and it was good, but I didn't think it was that great. I thought it had the same problem. It was too much.
Yeah. Gargano is a big, I don't want to say offender, but he's kind of the person that people point to when they make that criticism of NXT or the big WWE matches where it's like, okay, like we see everything that there is to see. And it's like, then this is like the North American title match. Then you got Pete Dunne and Finn in the main event. And it's like, they're going to kind of do the same thing, but
and that's the point I was trying to make. Like, well, I just seen this with Kushida and Gargano.
Yeah.
But instead of the arm, it's Pete's leg.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Like wrestling has lost the art of like the squash match.
Yeah, man, I agree. I miss that. I miss the like the dastardly type of hey, I'm gonna roll you up, schoolboy or whatnot, and get the cheap pin, roll out of the ring, get out of there, and that's the match. You know, it might be 3 minutes or whatever. It's it's stolen. It's almost like even with MMA, when you a guy that's expected to win, the other guy just gets that lucky punch and knocks him out, and sure, all the fans are like, oh damn, it reminds me of the Cain Velasquez and
Junior Dos Santos.
Yes, Junior Dos Santos. Thank you. That match, like, I hyped that match up for every one of my casual MMA fan friends. I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. It's on Fox, like this is going to be awesome. These two guys are great. And then all of a sudden, my friends are getting ready to watch, and then boom, to me, I was like, oh, that was cool. But like, I know to them, they're expecting something a little bit more. I don't know.
I got a text that night when that happened, because that was the only fight on that card. For whatever reason, the very first UFC on Fox only had the heavyweight title fight. And I remember telling people, like, this fight is going to be sweet. It's this collision course, because you got this guy, Cain Velasquez, who's this wrestler. He never gets tired. Then you got Junior Dos Santos, who's this big ass dude with crazy knockout power, and he can box and kick and all this stuff. And the Junior Dos Santos, who is known for knocking people out early, knocked out Cain Velasquez early. And one of my friends, she texts me, she goes, oh wow, what an epic fight. And I was like, the dude that punches people in the face punched a guy in the face. Like, what more do you want?
I know. Like, but yeah, it's that stuff. It's the upset stuff I want to see again. I want to get mad at that stuff as a fan. Like, I want to cheer on the baby face, and then all of a sudden, some bullshit happens and he loses. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, but I know the story is going to continue somehow, or something's going to happen with it, and I like, just like with anything else, right? It does circle back, and we'll see some of that stuff. And I do believe that it makes its ways on the indies again. And then it makes its way up. It bubbles up once more. I will think that we're going to see that soon, but it might not be until they finally realize that, like, oh man, we're starting to lose fans again. Like, no one wants to watch because it's the same thing all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like wrestling, in some ways, of match structure, people are kind of scared to be different. Like you said, that I feel like there's a lot of people who are worried about trying to do like the dastardly heel thing, because they might feel like they're not giving people their money's worth, that sort of thing, because, people want to see good matches. They're so conditioned to seeing like awesome, epic matches. They feel like they have to at least like give them a little bit of that and then sprinkle some cheating on at the end. I will give a guy like, and obviously I've given him a fair bit of criticism because I'm not necessarily a huge fan of his, but I will say a guy like The Miz is really good at playing that dastardly heel who will do whatever it takes to try to steal a victory from you. And he always does that. He has only really strayed from that when he had that brief face run, like, I don't know, like 2013 or something like that, when he beat Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental title. He had the weird floppy.
Oh, yeah.
And, sometimes like fatal four-way matches, like there's a really good fatal four-way with Sami Zayn, Cesaro, him, and Kevin Owens, and then the triple threat at, was it WrestleMania 34 or 35 with Seth and Finn. Like, he actually like tried to have a good match, and it worked because it's a multi-man match. So, it structured in the sense of like, it was a good match, but he could still try to steal the win by nature of the match. Yeah. I do appreciate the fact that he has always tried to be the smarmy underdog heel. He makes no bones about the fact that he's like not a good athlete. Like, he's not tough. Like, the only thing that he's got is that he works really hard and that he's smart. Like, that's it. That's all he's got. Like, I know, like, The Miz straight up isn't going to beat too many people in like a straight on fight. It would look silly if he beat someone like straight up, unless they were a total jobber. So I do give him a lot of praise in that regard.
Yeah. I agree with you there, which I know that's kind of one of the topics we wanted to hit on today. I think that's what makes him a perfect mid-level card guy with a perfect IC champ in those regards. Definitely someone that can continue to keep doing that and get fans, get under their skin, rub them the wrong way, and yet still you tune in every time to watch his match because you want to see him get his comeuppance. Like you want to see someone finally get over on him. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it definitely, with all of what's going on, I understand that wanting to give the fans their money's worth, but I also think in a weird way, if you have, I don't want to say a true heel or anything like that, but if you have a guy who kind of keeps kayfabe even outside of it, the fans still get their money's worth on that stuff, right? Like look at MJF. That dude could do just a simple roll up on a guy, and then fans would still love to hate him because he's just a perfect want to punch him in the face guy.
Yeah, MJF is very good at being, like you said, very punchable. He used to not be like that. Like he used to be a guy who would do like all the crazy moves, like springboards and destroyers and all that. Especially, when he was first kind of getting his feet wet and he first kind of broke through in CZW. But he kind of found his niche of being a heel because he's a great talker. He knows how to get under people's skin, even in an era of people loving the heels because people are smart to everything that's going on. They know it's not, I don't want to say not real, even though I've used that phrase before, but they know that it's a show. So they know that people are good at being a bad guy. So they enjoy that. They praise that because they think that it's entertaining. He still found a way to still be able to get people to boo him with that.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Miz and MJF, that's a good comparison. Those two guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that is a really good comparison. Although, what was I going to say? I feel like with,
The Miz is a Riverview football jock, and MJF is a Grows Eel guy. If you're local,
Yeah.
Two different heels right there, but you still don't like either one of them.
Yeah, I guess what would that make me then to the Miz? Would that make me like? Would that make me like Daniel Bryan or something? Someone's on the same team as him, but just absolutely wants to beat the hell out of him every time I see him.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
say what you want about the Miz, and there's been a big uproar about him since he's cashed in and become champion. The dude's been doing it for what, 15, 16 years now at the highest level in the WWE. And look at his accolades. I mean, this guy has won every single title multiple times.
Yeah, he's
besides the Universal title.
Yeah, I saw that somehow he is a 2-time Grand Slam champion, but people were kind of criticizing, like, wouldn't there be a bunch of other people who are 2-time Grand Slam champions? These people are saying like the accolade is kind of made up, but in any regard, he's a very decorated competitor, obviously in WWE, and I give a lot of credit to him because he was a dude that people did not like.
I mean, his name alone, The Miz.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Going back to the real world, man. Like
right. Yeah.
It's crazy. This 20 years ago, but even going back to that, when he was talking about how his dad was a racist and all that shit, like The Miz was always really good at getting under people's skin. He's always been good at that.
Yeah. Right.
Even when they tried to make him a babyface, it didn't work because he's just so good at being unlikable because like he just looks unlikable. Like he just looks like an asshole. Like really get under your skin. I think it's because we're all from the Midwest and we know a million dudes like that.
Yeah, right.
Like you just can't figure out the appeal of why anyone would ever like anyone like that. And I guess that, that's what kind of works for him.
Oh, he drinks at Captain's, brother.
Oh, he drinks at Captain's.
Oh, yeah.
He drinks at Captain's.
That's another local reference for everybody.
He turns his nose up at going to front row.
Yeah, I've always also wondered what the Miz and Vince's relationship is because I have to think Vince is always liked this guy if he's put him on the highest level. I mean, the guy's headlined WrestleMania, for Christ's sake, and here he is again holding the belt. So I would assume Vince has a pretty high regard for him, and that might date back to his time being on MTV in the real world, and Vince sees that, and well, people know who this guy is, and yada yada yada.
I feel like a lot of people.
He's good at being a heel.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. I feel like a lot of people back when he first came in, which is crazy because it's been so long now, and he came in to WWE with a lot of like old school mentality guys, and they probably thought that he was just immediately a piece of shit because not only was he on reality TV, he was on the real world. They felt like that is what helped him get his foot in the door.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was on Tough Enough. So he's already a tough enough kid. So they probably thought he was soft all because of that. They, you know, they never really considered him. No one really considers him like an indie guy, even though he did wrestle on the indies, not for a long period of time, but he did. And, you know, Chris Benoit hated him and would make him change outside of the locker room. And he was still even doing it after Benoit died and all that. And, you know, I feel like he's a dude that has really earned his stripes as a performer. I feel like he is definitely someone who's worthy of respect. I guess this kind of delves more into me talking about Mike Mizanin, the man and his perseverance, but the Miz character fucking sucks.
I gotta say, man, he has some good genetics too. He's one of those guys. I don't think he has a big track record on getting injured either. I know he's had some questionable on the outside catching moments with some of the guys flying out of the ring, but I think one of the only injuries that I can think off the top of my head is one of his not even a tooth. What do you call those but like a fake tooth basically
veneer?
Got knocked out. Yes, a veneer. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, one of his veneers got knocked out. And I mean,
is that one Kofi kicked him into?
Yeah, kicked him. Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that was
brutal.
it.
I think he busted his head open a little bit too.
Yeah. Oh, he might have got a concussion on that one, right?
Oh, you know what? AJ knocked his tooth out, and then Kofi busted his head open with the Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah.
So from what I can remember, he hasn't really been hurt too much.
But that comes back to the argument of, well, he works too safe. I mean, that kind of takes away from his matches and how he works. It looks soft. It doesn't look real.
His shit looks soft. Like,
I mean, I agree. It does. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. You don't want to actually hurt people, but think of all of the people that make it look like they're killing somebody and you've never heard of them hurting anyone. Like Daniel Bryan, like he does the wrist clutch and he stomps you in the head. Like that looks brutal. The elbows when he's got your arm trapped and elbows you in the head like Gary Goodrich, those look brutal. But I've never heard any stories about Daniel Bryan knocking anyone out with those elbows or the stomps or any of his kicks. You know what I mean? So I guess like it kind of bewilders me that he never thought to like, you know, well, I work safe, but let me figure out a way to make it look like I'm a little bit more dangerous and give my in ring work a little bit more edge and not make it look so soft. And you know, again, it's a good thing that he works like that because it hasn't made him get injured and it hasn't made him appear unsafe other than not catching people on dives. I wish at this point in his career, he would have found a way to make his holds look a little bit more impactful.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it kind of suffers from, you know, it felt to me anyway, and I mean, this is just my opinion, especially with stuff that I haven't watched all that often in the mid 2000s, but it felt almost cookie cutter in that way with some of the younger guys being a little bit extra safe. And it might possibly be, you know, kind of after that time with all the studies with concussions and CTE and all that coming out, that it might have been like, hey, don't look as aggressive out there or whatnot. And trying to find a way that where it still looks very punishable, but it's soft. I mean, even in my small stint in the ring before COVID, getting hit in the chest by dudes who actually hit me in the chest versus getting hit in the chest by dudes that it felt like nothing, but it's both of them still looked extremely real. And like the sell on both of us, I think, convince the fans either way. And these are big guys. It's kind of funny, you know, even the bigger guys, you think you're like, oh man, I'm getting ready for this dude to just wind up and nail me in the chest. And the fact, like, they could just make it look like it was devastating, even with the sound, but it didn't hurt compared to some of the other guys that are just like, oh, this guy's green, let's, you know, smack him across the chest. But I think with the Miz, it doesn't look devastating. No, it doesn't. Exactly.
And I think that's always been his problem.
Yeah, right. No, it doesn't. And I think if you can recognize that and play that up to your character too, like you can do something a little bit better than that. But I think that's one of the downfalls of even him being as a heel is some of that stuff just doesn't look devastating. You know, that's kind of the hard thing, trying to convince people that are watching that what you can do can be impactful. Daniel Bryan does a great example of that for being a shorter guy. Dean Malenko, you know, Rey Mysterio, even some of that stuff. It's really, I don't know. I would like to ask him, you know, without him feeling offended. I don't mean it as that, but it would be like, you know, what made you decide to do it this way? I don't know. I would have to think that he still does practices, you know, he still practice stuff. I at least I would hope so. You'll talk to any martial artist out there too, you know, and a lot of them say, yeah, okay, I've been doing it for this long, but I'm still learning every single day. I would like to hope that there's wrestlers, especially on the big stage, that share that same philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem like you said, that he would still be maybe not necessarily trying out new things, but you know, he might still get in the ring and move around, rehearse some things, you know, something like that. But yeah, it's just, I used to joke even back in the day, man, when he was wearing like the shorts, and maybe when he switched over to the tights that he has now, or trunks, whatever you want to call them. I always joke that he seemed like he was doing indie wrestling in slow motion.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like all of his offense were like all these weird, like wacky combo neck breakers. It was like all weird neck breakers. And then his finisher is like a full Nelson reverse face buster, whatever you want to call it. It's like Jeff Jarrett's finish, but just with a full Nelson. And then even that, you know, I've never really seen that look impactful. It looks kind of just like they fall down.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Who's it hurting more?
Yeah, and I just wonder, back to his training, or even when he got called up, did anyone go like, "Hey, dude, like you gotta tighten that up a little bit. That doesn't look good."
Yeah,
I wonder if anyone higher up talked to him about it, and he's like, "Nah, I'm just gonna do what I want to do. I'm just gonna keep doing it this way." Or maybe he was actually super stiff when he first started out, and maybe he heard a couple guys, and he's like, "You know what? Let me ease back." I don't know.
That could be it.
Yeah, I would love to know why as well, John, like why he decided like, yeah, this is how I'm going to do it. And that's that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's not to offend him or anything. It is a truly genuine, I'm interested, and you know, he might convince me otherwise. And then I look at it differently and say, oh yeah, you know what? That does make sense that you go about it that way. You know, I'm always interested to learn about these sort of things, and especially wrestling, the timeline of it all. Like I said, the training, I mean, training can be the same as it was 30 years ago. Still taking a bump is still taking a bump, right? But you know, there's different things that you learn, and there's different things that you can improve on and you can work on.
Yeah, you can always get better. And you know, you see guys like constantly adding new wrinkles to their game.
Mm-hmm.
Like John Cena, he started adding a bunch of new moves to his game.
Yeah.
Not always for the better, but he added some stuff that looked really good. Like, he started doing like a ridiculous like clothesline lariat.
Yeah.
When he beat AJ for the title around that time period, he kind of added that to his game and it looked really good. He added a couple other things that look sweet, like the springboard DDT he started doing. Like, it's cool to see guys constantly add new wrinkles to the game. It makes it look like they're evolving, because in real sports, real fighting, guys will always add little tricks or have something up their sleeve, and it's nice to see that. The only thing I could say that Miz started doing is like a springboard double axe handle, and it blew everyone away because he could do a springboard.
Yeah, I mean, the Miz is the Miz, and like John pointed out, that's probably just his style.
Yep, and then like I said, he realized this is working for me. I'm not getting hurt. Nobody else is getting hurt.
I'm not getting hurt. I'm making a lot of money. I have a show on the USA Network. I have a hot wife. What does he care? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
It's all panned out pretty well for fucking Mike Mizanin.
From fucking Parma, Ohio.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly it. And I respect him for that.
Dude, if you woke up next to Maurice in the morning and you're like, yeah, I'm going to throw some shitty MMA kicks too. Like, I don't give a fuck if they look real or not. Like,
yeah.
Look where this got me.
That's right. Wiping your face away with those $100 bills. Oh, no, I care what the fans think.
Like, I know people always like talk shit on wrestlers and famous people when they do like the dude, I'm rich. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do whatever I want. But it's like, if I was rich, I would probably have that response a lot. Like, I'm rich as shit. Like, why would I waste energy on what some dork on the internet thinks, as I am a dork on the internet telling people what I think. But
hey man, that's what got us popular in the first place, right? Bunch of marks getting around a Yeti microphone.
That's right. Oh, everyone's a dork for something, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's like guys out there that are dorks for like eating egg whites and lifting heavy objects.
Yep.
I mean, no one's gonna call them a dork because they might twist your head off with their hands. But I mean, anyone that has the knowledge that it requires to get that jacked and get that strong is a dork. Like.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. You have to have some sort of passion for it that can reach levels of being defined as a nerd, because you're just like, oh man. I used to say that about law school stuff too. I'm like, there's no one cool in law school. We all got here because we like to read.
Yeah, dude. I tell my girlfriend all the time, like, watching wrestling. Yes, like, within wrestling fandom, there's certain people, certain things that a lot of people collectively think it's cool, but to her and a lot of other, I just call them normal, regular people, watching wrestling is inherently not cool. Like, as soon as I uttered the words, yeah, I watch wrestling, there's then a lot of times where people just laugh at me and turn their nose up at me. Like, yeah. I couldn't get away with saying I watched wrestling when I was dating before I started dating Paige. Like, the girls would be like, what the fuck? Like, I openly make fun of me about it.
Yeah, so, right.
And watching wrestling to the extent that we do, that's like, I just don't watch it. I fucking watch it.
It's like, we put on a fucking wrestling show. Like, I am that level into wrestling. If Paige does not get it, she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand it. Like, she thinks some shit is cool. Like, the athleticism is cool. She thinks all the hot guys are cool, of course. But
yeah, right.
She just is like, dude, who the fuck is waking up on a Saturday morning at like 8 a.m.
consume like, yeah, that's weird to think about, dude.
I'm gonna watch some Japanese wrestling.
I'm gonna stay up till 3 in the fucking morning and watch this Japanese wrestling live as fuck.
What are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm hanging out with the family. We might go skiing. Who knows? What about you? Oh, I'm waking up at 3 in the morning.
Dude, like, I mean, I hope, Kaz, you don't mind if I tell the story, but like, me and Kaz, it was Beast in the East a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
And me and Kaz were out drinking, partying with the intent of staying up, drinking, and watching Beast in the East. To what time did it start? Like 3 a.m.?
I think so. Yeah.
Dude, me and Kaz, we actively like refused to hang out with a group of girls that wanted us to come and party with them so we could watch Beast in the East. We straight up were like, no, we're going to watch wrestling. We're not hanging out with you. We were like two dudes who were like 24, 25 years old. We're like, no, we're watching wrestling.
Yeah, we drank the whole time, dude.
Yeah, I fell asleep.
We watched the sun come up at your house.
That's right. And you guys left me passed out on my couch.
Yeah, you were out.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think. I remember I can tell you the girls who texted me.
I don't remember that part.
I could tell you the girls who texted me. I might have to put it in chat. But yeah, I remember getting a text. They're like, please come party with us.
You got to text me now because I want to see if it was a mistake on our part.
I can't remember who the other girl was. But yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, it was a really dumb thing to do.
On our part?
I mean, like,
all right.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of being like single,
oh yeah,
in their mid-20s, like it was a fucking Kobe Bryant runner with no one guarding him.
I mean, what was that card? Brock
Finn,
Kofi,
and then Finn and Kevin Owens.
Oh yeah.
I wish WWE did more of those. They were doing them for a minute.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they did. Beast in the East.
I guess you can't do it right now, but
right.
Yeah.
The first Roadblock was a random network special. They did a Madison Square Garden special. Someone in a cage, Rock and Big Show in a cage, I think.
Yeah, that was cool when they were doing that stuff. Just random network specials like that.
Yeah, I wish they would do that. I don't think they're going to do that anymore because of COVID, and I think also they were going to cut back on doing house shows anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that they recognize that. That's the weird, man. Not to get off topic a little, but it still is kind of, well, it is on topic. COVID made them realize a lot of stuff. It kind of confirmed things. I know. I believe they were kind of talking about or messing around with the idea of doing less house shows, and then this kind of really cemented it for them. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we don't need to do house shows anymore. There's no point. But the downside is, like, I think that's great for the wrestlers themselves, right? But like the downside is house shows were some fun shows to go to just to like drink, relax, and the guys are going to have a little bit more fun of a match. It's going to be a little looser. They're just going out there to entertain themselves along with the fans.
I think also too the house shows, that was kind of how people would structure matches. They would basically for rehearsal for two people were feuding and they had a big pay-per-view match coming up the next night or the next week, whatever it was. They give them some time to work on some things in a more relaxed environment, so they probably didn't feel so stressed. And especially for anyone that maybe just got called up, or maybe they're still kind of new, they've only been in the game for a little bit, they need some reps. The house shows would help them get reps, work on things. Right. So like, oh, that sucked, we're not doing that anymore. You get thrown into a random tag team match and you're like, holy shit, these guys are really good as a team. Maybe we should, run with them as a team or a group, whatever it is. So I don't know how those sorts of things are going to happen anymore because they're not going to do it as much. So they're not going to stumble, I think, across as many diamonds in the rough. They might have to hope for the best with people at NXT. You saw that they tried that with couple of people with was it Zoe Stark? She had a solid debut, so someone must have been impressed somewhere. And she had a pretty good match with Io Shirai last night. And then they tried a similar thing with I keep fucking calling him Tyler Diamond. As Tyler Rust. Whose catchphrase was not Stokely had Malcolm Bivens, his manager, he says he's a diamond in the rust.
That's such a horrible line.
And they keep trying to shoehorn that into every fucking promo. And, you know, I love Malcolm Bivens. I think he's hilarious. I think he's genuinely one of the funniest people, like, on Twitter. I think he's a hilarious person.
Oh, yeah, man.
But I don't think Tyler Rust is a bad wrestler by any means. But he's very much like a work rate, kick pads kind of guy. And so I could see why they had Malcolm become his manager. But it just seems like the pairing doesn't work because Malcolm Bivens is kind of comedic and Tyler Rust is like a very serious dude. I would have liked maybe if they put him in a tag team or something. I think that might have worked a little bit better for him than putting him with Malcolm Bivens. Maybe I wouldn't call him Tyler Diamond all the time.
It's Paul Diamond's nephew, Tyler Diamond.
So it's funny is there's like a random like MMA fighter named Tyler Diamond. So Tyler Diamond, if you're out there listening to this podcast, I'm sorry for comparing you or confusing you with Russ Taylor. Oh, dude, that's even better. That's like the fucking Brian Danielson thing. Tyler Russ name used to be Russ Taylor.
Did it really?
Yeah, he was in the Pure Wrestling tournament that they just did a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just like, we're gonna like give me your real name, give me your current name. We're gonna take a couple other names. We're just gonna put them in a fucking bag. You just reach in there and grab them, and he somehow got Tyler Rust.
That might have been how they fucking did it.
I love the story of Dolph Ziggler when they were coming up with names. They're basically like, here's a couple of lists of names. Here's what we're thinking of. They're getting ready for the show, and they said your name is Dolph Diggler or something like that. I can't remember what it was, or Dirk Ziggler or something like that. And he was like, no, this is not going to work. He was like, because they saw he had like a weird face, because he told us, I think, on Colt Cabana's podcast. And he was like, this is not going to work. They could tell he was really worried about the name. They said, you got 30 minutes, come up with a name. And he said he went in a broom closet or some shit like that. Like he hid, and he was like sitting there for 30 minutes, like brainstorming different ways to come up with a name that wasn't that, because he knew it wasn't going to work. He's like, I'm dead in the water with this name. And hell, even Dolph Ziggler, when he first showed up and doing the "Hi, I'm Dolph Ziggler" thing, oh my God, I was like, this is not going to go anywhere, and prove me wrong. But he came up with Dolph Ziggler because his real grandfather's name is Rudolph, and people called him Dolph for short. So he said, let's just go with Dolph. It's close to what you guys want, but it's not quite that. So can this be my name? Let's try it. And that's what they went with.
Nice. I didn't know that. I never heard that one. I always hear hey, here's the 3 or 5 names we're going to give you, and or give us 3 or 5 names. It seems like that's the reverse sometimes now, is hey, give us 3 or 5 names and we'll decide for you. And I forget, some of the guys were like, we just came up with the dumbest names possible so that they would easily knock them out and then be like, okay, we'll choose this one, like
Daniel Dick Butt. Yeah, dude, if someone was like, give me some fake names, of course I'm going to say the dumbest names.
Yep.
Like, why would you not say off the wall stupid names?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like Taman Didwell. Let's go with that one. Let's see how that works. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, of course.
Yeah.
Man, pro wrestling is so weird when it comes up to coming up with your stage name.
Oh man, that was, I mean, that's kind of like, for me, I felt like the most generic, uncreative guy ever when they asked me, like, all the guys were like, so what's your name gonna be? I'm like, well, I kind of blew it because I came into this and everyone already knows who I am. So I'm John Brewski. Everyone's just kind of like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you already do a commentary under that name.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I can't go out and pretend, like unless I go to Ohio or Indiana where no one knows me. Then I'll be Bruce Johnsky, but Bruce.
I hope to God once everything gets back to normal after COVID, you just show back up because I don't think anybody's gonna remember that you used to go by John Brewski. If you start saying like I'm Bruce Johnsky now, everyone will be like, oh, okay, yeah, that I think that's right.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's just off enough that people are gonna like legitimately think that that's my name.
That's right.
Yeah, there's that Bruce guy.
It's your Tyler Rust.
Yes.
I was gonna say something else about like wrestling names, like nicknames or whatever people come up with. I guess like so often these names just sound so generic, like
yeah, man,
and they're so vastly different from what the people are known as. Like Zoe Stark's name, I can't remember what her name was before on the indies, but like Zoe Stark, like what is the meaning behind that? How did you come up with that? Who's sitting in the room like this is the name that's gonna work? Like I'm trying to think. And then why are some people getting the like name generator names and then other people just get to stay their old name?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like all the Undisputed Era guys got to keep their name. But then even like Malcolm Bivens was Stokely Hathaway and people knew who he was and they just called him, no, you're Malcolm Bivens now.
Yeah, well, like right. With, what's his name? Eli Drake.
So I wonder if Impact owns the rights to that name because Impact was doing the First D McLast name kind of gimmick for people a little bit like Tonga Loa. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I never actually, I think, have said his name out loud, but he used to go by Camacho in WWE. He was he had a weird Firsty McLast name. Like I think it might have been like one name because he was in a stable with Eli Drake and Drew Galloway. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh man, yeah.
And it was there. The stable was called The Rising.
Tonga Loa was?
Right.
Yeah, it was Eli Drake, Tonga Loa, and Drew Galloway. And Tonga was Micah. Micah. Yep. That's right. It. Yep. And they were stable for 4 months. Unbelievable. I don't even know why they paired all those people together because none of those people seem like they would even go together whatsoever. I feel like TNA had a lot of those though, like 4 month stable. Like you guys remember Sonata was in a stable with James Storm where he straight up just pretended to be the Great Muta?
Yes. Yeah.
What?
Man. Yeah. It was
I didn't watch any of that. I didn't even know Sonata was in it fucking TNA.
Yeah, man, that was at the time. Like James Storm was supposed to be like his mentor.
Wow.
Yeah, the stable was the Revolution. It's an absolutely batshit insane stable because it was Serena Deeb, TJ Perkins, Abyss, James Storm, Sonata, and then
whoa, what a fucking motley crew that is.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. It was such a weird stable. Such a weird stable. And they straight up called him the Great Sonata.
Yeah.
Did he spit?
Oh, dude, it was
because that was that like right after that he kind of had his little, either it was happening at that time or
wow,
he
had a little feud with Great Muta.
Yeah,
Taz and
he turned heel on Muta.
Yeah,
I think I can't remember when, but when they did Bound for Glory in Japan,
yes,
I think, Sonata was on the losing team against Muta and someone else.
Yeah.
It's such a strange stable, but they were tag team champions. And on that Impact channel on my TV that I watched, what was it? It was a cage match with Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy versus the Revolution. It was James Storm. TJP was like handcuffed in the cage, and then I think Abyss was the other guy in the match. I can't remember. All I remember was that somehow there, the TNA, when they do the cage matches, or Impact, they do the cage matches, they have the hole for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Shira, the big Indian guy, reached in and pulled Matt Hardy out of the cage, but because Matt Hardy didn't leave the cage under his own power, that didn't count as an escape for his team. So he was trapped outside of the cage, getting his ass kicked by Sonata and Shira. And then Jeff Hardy ended up getting pinned, and the Revolution kept the tag titles. And that's when Jeff Hardy did that insane bump where he fell off the door onto the stairs because Sonata climbed up the cage and misted him in the eyes. And then James Storm hit him with a beer bottle or a cowbell or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, man.
And this channel, by the way, if anyone has I think it's our LG smart TV in the basement, maybe a Samsung, I can't remember. If anyone hits the guide button and finds that channel, like, you will be blown away because they show nothing in order, absolutely zero things in order. So you will always be kind of confused if you turn that on for the very first time.
Is that based off of Pluto TV?
It could be. Does Pluto TV have a Glory Kickboxing channel?
Yeah. Okay. I believe so. I'm pretty positive they do, or they did, because they had an all TNA channel, and that's what I remember watching. I was like, there's no timeline to this. It's just like, hey, let's put it up there.
Oh yeah, it's wacky because I was cleaning the basement on a Sunday, and because I stumbled across it, like accidentally hitting a button, and I remember stumbling across it and seeing like a documentary leading up to the James Storm Bobby Roode cage match, which led to me jokingly like, hey, remember when Bobby Roode pretended to be Triple H? Like that. Even doing the fucking lat spread and everything. Yep. And I've been watching it a lot now, while I've been like working, because my office, quote unquote, is down there in the basement with my little desk. So I watch a ton of Impact Wrestling. I get to witness a lot of peak Perk Angle in-ring work.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I'm looking for some older stuff though, like when it was NWA TNA. I would love to watch it because I want to watch some of the old R-Truth as the champion, like champion.
Yeah,
which is crazy to think because he's a straight comedy guy now, but back then he was like the white man is holding me down type of guy, like trying to talk about all the racial injustice.
Yeah, right.
And wrestling.
It's kind of, I give TNA that, man. They usually were pretty open about that stuff. Like they let that happen a lot more than say WWE would. They kind of had a little bit more confidence in the wrestlers with those types of storylines and whatnot. But I mean, no one really remembers that stuff. They remember also the ridiculous things and what was it? The Orlando Jordan situation, was that
where he's pouring the lotion on himself. Yeah. That was
what?
Yeah, it's something, man. It's on YouTube. I know that those earlier days, especially like the oh gosh, they called him, I think and I'm quoting here, the midget with the gun storyline, and
he's like a pirate or something, right?
Yeah. Oh man, yes, Jordan Lotion.
Yeah, man. Orlando Jordan was
he was a bisexual wrestler. That was basically his gimmick.
Yeah, because he's bisexual in real life, right?
Yeah, yes.
So the thing that made me most uncomfortable, I think this is how we got the first appearance of Rebel. Is that Rebel? I can't.
Did he get in trouble for something?
I
think there were some allegations against him. I don't know if he ended up getting in trouble for it.
Because I remember what made people really uncomfortable. Obviously, this gimmick of him doing a bisexual wrestler angle, but the guy that was with him looked like he was like 17, and it really made people uncomfortable. Like it was.
Oh, that title.
Is Orlando Jones simply the greatest?
Let's see here. I'm gonna look it up. If he did get in trouble here, personal life, he's misdiagnosed with autism.
Holy, wow.
Hey, so is Lino. He says it.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Has he not said that?
Yes, yeah, he said it on an episode too. He said he was undiagnosed.
What I was gonna say is he went to Boise State in 1993. I didn't realize he was even that old. Shit, so when he was like US champion, he was already like 30 something.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Because I think he's also, Orlando Jordan's the one that had one of the last matches with Ultimate Warrior.
Oh yeah, he did. In Italy.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy to think, because Ultimate Warrior, I think I can safely say Ultimate Warrior would not like Orlando Jordan.
Yeah, it was so funny because like Warrior was singing his praises, and all I could think about was like, I wonder if Warrior kind of was trying to bury any of that footage after the Orlando Jordan bisexual character came out. Because he's like, this is, I think there's, he's like raising Orlando's hand. He's like, this is the next thing in wrestling, stuff like that, like singing high praises on him. And then, we got the TNA stuff.
Apparently Orlando had pitched this bisexual angle before he left WWE.
Yeah.
And that's something he kind of kept in his back pocket. I remember the Rob Terry segments making people very uncomfortable.
Yes.
I remember that. But I can't quite remember him getting in trouble for anything. I thought he did, but
I thought I might have heard something.
Yeah, that's what I think. I thought it was
underage
allegations
or something.
Yeah. I think it was allegations and our big favorite word, allegedly. So
we're talking about all the stuff that Orlando Jordan may or may not have done, and I don't know how to segue from that to Black Champions, because I was trying to use the R-Truth line to segue into it, and then I'm
sorry I derailed that because we were talking earlier NWA TNA and all that. And
Yep. I was like, oh yeah, perfect. I can use this R-Truth thing to bring up the Black Champions that I wanted to talk about. And now we're talking about like Orlando Jordan, who is just reading his resume as far as like amateur credentials goes, a fantastic amateur wrestler. I mean, he went to Boise State, which is no joke. And then he's an amateur boxer. He was a solid wrestler from what I remember. I don't remember him being terrible. He seemed like he was one of those guys that showed up in the mid 2000s in WWE and really suffered from them giving him a weird gimmick, which is seemingly like no gimmick at all. Mm-hmm. He's just like, this guy's athletic, and he boxed a little bit. So he would box and dance a little bit, because that's what all the black guys in WWE seem to do. It's like, this guy's kind of tough and athletic, and he's good. He frowns because he's evil. Like, I don't know. I feel like there could be more nuance to some of these characters than that. Which, of course, him talking about him literally being bisexual and trying to make that part of his character.
Yeah.
So WWE must have been like, well, Vince, the sponsors, we can't have that happen.
Yeah. I actually think that's exactly what happened. That they kind of put an axe to it before it could even get started. And so then he pitched the idea to TNA, and they seemed to be very open about it. And then he cranked it up to 11. And a lot of people were like, "Ugh, that's a little, spreading the lotion all over him, like he's
That's a little bit too bisexual."
He's doing a money shot with the lotion bottle, And,
Yeah. You dial it down you dial down the bisexual just a little bit.
Turn it. He was ahead of his time. This polyamorous bisexual wrestler.
So I guess we try to leave this episode and leave off of Black History Month.
I'm sorry.
Talk about some of our greatest African American world champions. If you got this list from Last Word on Sports, you can go ahead and check out their list. It's from back in 2019. You've got 28 champions on this list. Bearcat Wright, Bobo Brazil, Ernie Ladd, Ron Simmons, Booker T. The Rock, Xavier, who I did not know was black. I thought he was like Puerto Rican. Of course, the greatest African American heavyweight champion of all time, Jay Briscoe, also a ROH world champion.
Yeah, I forgot.
That's right.
Bob Sapp, huh?
Bob Sapp, man.
Yeah, IWGP champion.
Who'd he beat?
Kinsuke Sasaki.
Ah.
And this list goes on and on. It's got a lot of the indie champions: Mark Henry, Human Tornado, PWG champion, Ruckus was CZW champion, AR Fox was Evolve champion, Black G's also CZW, Bobby Lashley, that sort of thing. I'm hoping Bobby will become the I just burped right into the microphone. Nice. Classic. Haven't done that in a while.
WWE.
Yeah, I hope he becomes a WWE champion.
Yeah.
Try to think the only black WWE champions, like actual WWE, not the world heavyweight champion, even though somehow that lineage is all combined now. He would be the third. The first is The Rock. The second was Kofi Kingston. And he would be the third in the fucking 60-year history.
That's insane.
Yeah, man. That's crazy when you think, even the list at the time that they said with this list, the 28 altogether at the time, Kofi.
Yeah, Kofi was the last one. And you got Lethal, like I said, Jonathan Gresham, who I did not know was the CZW World Heavyweight Champion. Fred Yehai was the PWG champion. Leo Rush. CZW is seemingly the most forward-moving wrestling promotion out of all.
Who would have known?
Yeah, man. CZW, PWG.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Moose, of course, the one of the few Impact Wrestling heavyweight champion, TNA heavyweight wrestling champion, a black man. Rich Swann is the actual Impact World Heavyweight champion.
Was R-Truth the only NWA?
In modern time, yeah, but I think if
Black NWA champion, was he the only one?
He's the only one on this list. Yeah. A lot of these guys, like Iceman King Parsons, were either like territory champions, or regional champions, and then of course now modern times like independent champions. But R-Truth was the as far as I can remember, only black NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And the thing that blows my mind, so like in my lifetime, our lifetime, I guess you could say, let's see, you could count on two hands, I guess, because you got Ron Simmons, which is 92 when I was alive. I guess technically for you guys, you could count King Parsons if you want, maybe Calypso Jim, but I would not count that as World Heavyweight Championship. No disrespect to Calypso Jim and his accomplishments or anything like that, but that's not like a major title I think anyone would ever.
No.
Yeah, right. I mean, mention WWA to people, and I don't know how many wrestling fans would be like, "Oh yeah, the WWA."
But I mean,
Calypso gym run back in '87.
but I mean, you think of these guys who were like the top dudes, like the companies that we watched growing up, ECW, WCW, WWF, putting a black man on top was very few and far between, because you got Ron Simmons in '92. 6 years later in WWF, you got The Rock, Booker T a couple years after that, WCW, R-Truth a few years after that, Bob Sapp in Japan, 2004, Xavier's 2002 ROH, but I didn't even know he was black until I looked at this. And then you've got a lot of indie champions like Ruckus, Human Tornado. So, I mean, of the major championships, according to this list, is Bob Sapp in 2004, then Mark Henry in 2011. And
it's just crazy to me, man.
I'm kind of blown away that no companies in the last 20, 30 years, I shouldn't say no companies, but the amount of black talent that has come through all of the different companies, like it seems like very rare for them to give those guys the ball, let them run with it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's always some crazy reason why these guys aren't allowed to become the champion when people are asked about it. Like Bruce Pritchard always say, like, oh, Farouk was too old to be the champion.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, dude, it's Ron Simmons. Like, as much as they passed the fucking world title around in the Attitude Era, I'm sure Ron Simmons could have got a 2-month title reign in there somewhere.
Oh, for sure. You know, and I mean, you can't say at that time, too, Nation of Domination was just as hot as anything else that was going on, especially when The Rock joined and all that. I don't know. I think obviously there's more to it than what we're led to believe, but it is kind of crazy, especially that stat from 2004 to 2011.
Yeah, and then, you know, Lashley, when he was the Impact champion, some of his best work.
Yeah, man.
Really, people really praised him for that work, and I give Impact a lot of props for really giving him the ball and running with it, because it worked and it was cool, and it was a prime example of how you know, you can put someone like that on top and it's going to work, and like none of these bullshit excuses as to why it's not going to work, like, oh, he had personal demons or he had an attitude problem. You know, Mark would have been the world heavyweight champion sooner if he had got his weight under control and all this bullshit. Like, you mean to tell me like Butch Reed couldn't have got a title run somewhere?
Yeah, right.
Ron Simmons was only good enough to be the world heavyweight champion once. You know, like, I have a hard time believing all the talented guys out there. Like, it took so long for fucking Kofi to win the World Heavyweight Championship, and he was going years in between even getting title shots.
Yeah, right.
And it was just like, was that always going to be the plan?
No, that I was just going to say, probably not. Their hand was somewhat forced.
Who was even going to beat Brian at that WrestleMania then? Was it going to be Ali getting that run then? Which I would have been cool with.
I know I've heard that rumor. Yeah, that originally that was supposed to be it, but
I mean, maybe it was Kofi. I don't know.
In any regard, you know, Kofi, he should
have won it a long time before he did.
Yeah. He should have won it back probably in 2009 or 2010, whenever he was feuding with Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what, he screwed up one thing in a match, and that was enough to like not let him get anywhere near the main event for another 10 years.
I see most of the main, you know, establishments on this list: WWE, WCW, Impact, Ring of Honor. One missing is ECW. And I'm trying to think of anyone in ECW that could have possibly done it.
Well, Taz was the...
Oh, is Taz black?
No. It's a joke. He's a joke where he apparently has had to tell people so many times that he's not black. A lot of people like come up to him like in New York and they always thought he was black. And he's like, no, I'm Italian, man.
But I'm trying to even think of black wrestlers in ECW. New Jack.
New Jack, yeah, right. I think that's the one everyone.
Ezekiel Jackson.
I'm not even talking about that ECW.
Yeah.
Well, they kept giving the belt
Too
to
Cold Scorpio.
Scorpio definitely could have been the champion, but I think he ended up going to WWF. I would say probably at his peak overness of being like 2 Gold Scorpio when he was the tag champ and the TV champ. But I mean, look at this dude. Not that many people really had the ECW title. So like when it becomes Extreme Championship Wrestling, the belt goes back and forth from 95 to what is it in 2001? So 6 years. It goes back and forth between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 9, 10 guys.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like who besides New Jack, who was even really on the roster at that time. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a good question, like a good thing to ponder. Like
Devon.
Yeah, we're all the brothers in ECW, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that?
That's what I'm trying to think.
Dude, I fucking love ECW. And I've never even thought about that now. I say, does this have like the?
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it show any active roster or anything on there?
Or alumni or something?
Yeah, right.
A former personnel. Oh, Jesus Christ! It's got everybody's names on there. Holy shit, dude!
All right, time to add my name to this list. Make sure no one sees.
Absolutely. Oh, it's got their real names on there too. Fucking Jado. Jado could have been the champion, right?
Brackus could have been the champion.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like I'm just trying to think. There's like JT Smith, but I don't think he was going to be a world champion. Yeah, dude, it's kind of wild that the ECW didn't really have a ton of black guys there besides what's his name? New Jack, JT Smith, a couple like the Baldies.
Devon.
Yeah,
what's up, Paul?
Yeah, what the hell is up with that? Heyman. Yeah, this is crazy. Like looking through this.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of black dudes that came through there. Although I'm starting to get sad now looking at all the crosses next to people's names.
Yeah, right.
In any regard, I'm hoping that we get more world champions, like black world champions, and more companies make, they push people towards being the top stars, like Shane Strickland, Isaiah Swerve Scott, whatever name you want to call him. That guy could be a star. Like he could be a main event caliber person. Ricochet could be a main event caliber talent. And I thought they were going to push him that way, and they just decided not to. And now he looks like a total dork and jobber. It's disheartening. These two guys, the Foundation, Jonathan Gresham and Jay Lethal, I feel like they could really work on a major level as a tag team and really be either, like I said, single stars or a tag team in any promotion. AEW could come looking for these guys at some point in the next few years, but I think Gresham just signed I think they both just signed contracts again with Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That always surprised me that I didn't see Jay Lethal like get picked up by WWE right away, especially during that early 2010s, mid 2010s.
Yeah, he seemed like he was a lock to go to WWE.
Yeah, man.
Like you said, in the early 2010s, like right after that TV title run, I'm really shocked that WWE didn't try to pick him up.
Yeah.
Maybe they did, and I don't know.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
I know with some of those indie guys, when they picked up Drew Gulak, they were trying to pick him up and just make him a coach. They didn't really want to pick him up as an in-ring talent, which is fucking insane because Drew Gulak is like my age. He's like 33 or something like that.
It's so crazy sometimes, man.
Which means as long as he's been signed to WWE, which is going on like 5 years now, so they would have had a guy who's like 27 or 8 and just wanted to make him a coach. What's even the point of signing him to something like that? Yeah. Doesn't make any sense. And then one last thing before we wrap this up. I noticed too that AEW, I feel like they don't have a ton of like wrestlers of color. I mean, I don't watch it a ton. I'm trying to think. They've got
Private Party.
What's
his name? I'm trying to he's part of Taz's group.
Willie Hobbs, yes, thank you. Who I would say people of color are like in the main event scene in AEW. I guess technically the Lucha Bros. Now I got to look at the AEW roster.
Oh man, gosh, and even arguably, Lucha Bros haven't really been in the whole like tag team scene as going for the belts.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I guess Eddie Kingston for a time. Yeah,
Eddie.
Yeah, just powering through this is not a ton. I mean, obviously they have people of color in their promotion, guys, but like, there's not a ton of them at the top. The women's division has, obviously a lot of like Japanese talent. Yeah. Thunder Rose is one of their big stars. Is Awesome Kong still even there anymore?
She's no, not really. Like she's kind of. I don't know if she's a coach now or what she's doing.
Yeah, it looks like it says coach. Yeah, their women's division seems a little bit more. I guess what's the term I'm looking for? A lot of their top people in that division is like you get like a different mix of people, whereas in the men's division, in the main event, a lot more
diverse than the men's.
Yeah, the top guys in the men's division are all kind of just, they look Canadian. A certain way. Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. All right. Well, I think that about does it for this episode. Do you guys have anything that you want to say in closing? Any thing you want to plug? Anything you're working on? Any clothes, merch, that sort of stuff?
Shout out to Nolan Edward, man. A Michigan staple in indie wrestling, making his Bloodsport debut. That was pretty awesome to see. Yeah, he's doing good things.
He wrestled Cal Jack on Bloodsport 4. I need to finish Bloodsport.
Wow, really?
4. Yeah. I heard that what was it? The Jeff Cobb Chris Dickinson match is really good. It's a real throwback to the shoot style wrestling of like the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So if you like Boss Rutan and Takada and all that stuff, it's right up your alley. And then apparently Moxley bleeds buckets in Bloodsport 5 against Davey Boy Smith. So I have to check that one out too. Let's see, I'm trying to think if I got anything. Oh, I'm actually going to release the Chaos Full House shirt this weekend. I keep forgetting to do it. I was going to make a Damon Mania shirt for this year for my birthday, but none of us are getting together to do it. So I might have to do a double for when I turn Jesus age next year. Does it do my Jesus Christ pose? COVID mania. And when the Romans and COVID hold you down and try to pick you up for that big body slam, John, what should you do?
Tuck your chin.